tapping the maple tree. Maybe you're wondering, what does this have to do with fundraising? Isn't that like a gardening principle or something else? But tapping the maple tree is just an image that you can use when you're thinking about fundraising. Again, our goal in fundraising is to build relationships and then have those relationships turn into partnerships where we can have win-win relationships. They win, I win, we both get what we want, we're both helping to do something good and advance a good cause. Tapping the maple tree, the first thing that you want to consider in this idea of tapping a maple tree is you want to make sure that you have a good source. So as you're building relationships, I like to liken a donor to a maple tree. That if I am seeing this donor, is this a good source? Is this a good source of funding? Again, maple tree, is this a good source for me to get syrup, for me to get the sap or the overflow of what I need from that tree? If it is too small, then it's not going to really give me what I need. Maybe if it's too big, then it has the chance of just snapping and falling. It's too old and it's decrepit and it's falling apart, or it's been too damaged. I'm not really a maple tree gardener or farmer or whatever, cultivator, although there's some basic principles that I can explain and you can make the correlation on your own. If anybody watching does tap trees for maple syrup, then you can maybe help me verify some of this story and I'll redo some of it at some point. But the first thing is you want to make sure that you have a good source. The second thing in tapping a maple tree is you want to make sure you have a deep tap. If your tap is not deep enough, it's just going to fall out. And so same with a relationship. You want to make sure that you have enough depth of a relationship that when you make the ask, that they don't just shut you off. You want to make sure that when you make the ask, that it's deep enough that they don't just like give you one time and then they never talk to you again. And so you want to make sure A, is it a good source? And B, you want to make sure that you drive the tap deep into the tree, even before you open the spigot. Again, that gets to the point of a relationship. You want to have that deep tap in a good source, build a good relationship, make sure that there's equal respect, that they respect you, that they know when you're coming and making this request, it's not just like flipping out of nowhere, but that you have that deep tap so that they are thrilled to give you money. They're thrilled to help you. They're thrilled to partner with you because you've driven that tap deep enough. The third piece that it goes with this analogy that again is extremely important when it comes to fundraising is don't open the spigot too many times or your source will run dry. And this is really true of time or money. Whether you're asking people to volunteer or you're asking people to donate, you can't open that spigot too many times. You need to give time to replenish. And every single donor, it's really interesting that you only have so many times you can ask somebody for something, friends, partners, donors, before you push them away. It's a very delicate balance, and every single person might be a little bit different. Every organization, every church, every foundation, every person is going to have a different threshold for how often you can go to them and how often you can make an ask. When I talk about making an ask, that's asking anything. That could be, can you introduce me to your Rotary Club? Can I come speak at your church? Can you come volunteer and help me to move our office? Could you make a donation? All of these things are asks. Could you come to a meeting? Could you come to sit at a fundraising presentation? Could you come speak at my fundraising presentation? Every single one of these things, you're making an ask of somebody else. And the amount that you can ask and the frequency you can ask will get to the depth of that relationship. But even in those deep relationships, you're going to hit a point that if you're not really perceptive and you don't have a good system for tracking, you'll hit points where you ask people and you just ask one too many times. You don't want to be the straw that breaks the camel's back. You need to really understand the donor psychology. You need to understand about the different relationships, because again, our goal is to build these win-win relationships. We want to create healthy partnerships. We don't want to ask and ask and ask and ask to the point where people are just like, I'm sick of you asking, leave me alone, right? We've all, if you're a parent, you've probably experienced that with your kids. They're like, Mom, can I have a cookie? Mom, can I have a cookie? Mom, can I have a cookie? And eventually, like, you can, I mean, you might give in and be like, all right, fine, just take your cookie and get away from me. But it's going to create this underlying irritant. That's not a partnership. That's not the kind of relationship that you want with your donors. And that tends to be part of the area where people can get a bad taste in their mouth around fundraising, is they've experienced other people asking too much, not asking in the right way, not asking at the right time, and ultimately it's like, I'm going to open the spigot again, is anything coming out? And so often, nonprofits especially, we end up feeling desperate. We feel like, I need another $1. I need another $10. I need to get this next fundraiser going. And so we open the spigot and we get a couple of drips and we're like, hooray, I got $2 more. When really, if we just left that, we nurtured it, we took care of that relationship, that we could open that spigot time again and again and again and again, and it would continue to produce season after season after season. But when we open it too often, we end up drying up the tap completely. I think of the story of the golden goose. You've all probably heard that, the golden goose. Every single day, the goose laid an egg. And, the king or whoever had the goose, I don't even remember the full story, but whoever had the goose, every day is like, golden egg, this is awesome. In the beginning, it's like, another golden egg, this is awesome. They realize, like, the goose is laying a golden egg every day. And now they've changed their entire life and they've built this kingdom and they're relying on this daily golden egg, but then they're like, I still don't have enough. I need more. I need more golden eggs. And so, in a fit of rage and desperation, cuts the golden goose open, hoping to find more golden eggs in there, and ends up killing the goose that lays the golden eggs. And it's one of those childhood stories that we learn that is meant to teach us to be satisfied with what we have, to not go crazy. But how often do we do that as nonprofit leaders? How often do we continue to go back and go back and go back, and especially in moments of crisis or desperation, or somebody's dying or somebody needs help or this person's starving, and we go back to that golden goose, and rather than appreciating the regular relationship that's there and nurturing that relationship, we ask one too many times and we end up killing the golden goose. And many of you have probably experienced that. It's part of the pain of going through, part of the pain of experience. I know for me, I've recognized that there's been times in nonprofits that I've worked with where we've killed the golden goose. We had a really good relationship and we asked one too many times. We didn't appreciate it. We didn't nurture it. We didn't take care of that person, that relationship, that donor. And all of a sudden they just felt used, they felt abused, and they decided to stop giving. And they found somewhere else to give their time and their resources to. So in this whole idea of, tapping the maple tree, the other important thing is to make sure that we're watering and we're fertilizing. And that really gets into the idea of being thankful, making sure that we're maintaining the relationship. We want to make sure that we're taking care of that relationship, that it's not every single time that we talk that I'm asking for money, or every single time we talk I'm presenting a need. We want to make sure that we water, that we fertilize, that we maintain that relationship. And one way that we do this is through being appreciative and thanking people. We want to, especially larger donors, handwritten thank you cards go a long way. Actually sitting down, taking the time to write out a thank you card in your own handwriting, in paper and pen, stationery, and mailing that goes a long way with people. And that really helps them to feel like, wow, you took personal time. This wasn't just an automated message, wasn't an automated email. At the very least, make sure you are doing automated messages and emails. But take that time. I remember we had a donor and I won't say the person's name, but it was a core lesson that was kind of taught to us. There was a donor that we had early on in our family ministry, and this person sent in a $10 donation. I think it was probably in the first couple of years. And we, at that point, didn't have any systems for thanking people, automated or not. And that $10 donation, that person never got a thank you card. They never had any recognition, never reached out. They just deposit the check, put it in the bank, spend the money. And later on, we were doing a presentation, and I remember this person coming to my dad and saying, I was really bothered that I sent in a $10 donation and you never thanked me for it. I sent you some money and it was never recognized, and I just don't feel like I was appreciated. And I really, really appreciate this person brought it up. They were confident enough to say something. And my dad, responded well, and he said, I'm so sorry. I should treat every donation as important. I shouldn't have neglected the fact that your $10 is extremely significant. And I remember after that event, he actually wrote out a handwritten thank you card thanking her for coming to the event. Now, she didn't donate to that event, but thanked this person for coming to the event and just mailed that card. That person, over the next 10 to 15 years, became one of the top donors for the organization and ended up donating millions, I would say probably close to $1 million, $500,000 to $1 million to the organization over the next 10 years. Recognizing that every single donation is important. Building those relationships, making sure that you're watering, that you're fertilizing. You don't know what kind of money some people have. You don't know what kind of access to resources or network or anything else. And that shouldn't be your motivation, your sole motivation for recognizing people and appreciating them. But if you want to build those deep relationships, it's extremely important. You want to make sure that the donor also feels like the hero of your story. That's another great way to build the relationship with them, is to make them out to be the hero. When you tell the story to other people, talk about how a donor responded. I remember after an earthquake in Haiti, we had a really big earthquake, and the country was decimated. I think it was 270,000 people died in that earthquake, and our organization was raising money to build houses for people to be able to get people back into housing. We had people sponsoring children, and a lot of our sponsors responded to finding out that their kids had lost their homes, and they paid to build new homes for them. And so I didn't take the credit for that. I didn't need to take the credit as the organization. It was the sponsors that were the hero. The sponsors came through. The sponsors made the donations. And so even when I tell the story now, it's just innate in me. They're the heroes of the story. It's not that I went and built houses for these people, but our sponsors responded. They were the heroes. They were the ones that made this happen. When I talked to the people in Haiti, I made sure that they understood, your sponsor, the person who's helping you in school, they made this donation. And then again, could you, Johnny, write a letter and send it back to the sponsor and make sure to thank them? Or let's do a little video, and let's make sure, we'll even do a little video, pull out my cell phone, and we'll do a video of you and I standing in front of the house, and we'll share that with them and say, thank you so much, sponsor XYZ, for making this donation, for helping to get Johnny off of the dirt and back into a house, back into a shelter, back into a place of safety. And, at times we would even, if it was an organization or a foundation, we'd even go the next step. You have to be careful of this with individuals, but especially corporations, foundations, organizations. Go over the top and make a video and thank them and share it to their Facebook or send it to them so that they can share it with all their supporters. It's great PR for them, and it's also great PR for you as well. But making the donor the hero of your story is a great way to fertilize And then those regular thank yous and appreciations, and making sure that they know that their donation did something significant, that it was actually used for what you said it was going to be used for. If you said that their donation was going to help to build a building, then take the pictures of the building being built and send it to them so that they can recognize, wow, you're not just asking me for money all the time, but you're recognizing again that the two of us are partners. We're partnering together. And what partner wouldn't want to see the work that's being done with the money that they gave? And so those are just some things around tapping the maple tree, and that idea of making sure that you have a good source, a deep tap, don't open the spigot too many times, and then water and fertilize.